Good morning, everybody. Nick here, aka Cowboy. We got Ben Kelleran on. We got Kelleran's Corner, and Ben talks about many things. Of course, Ben, you're definitely, I mean, you're a professional when it comes to energy markets, offshore energy, things like that. But we've really been enjoying a lot of your political commentary as well. So, a couple things to look at in the description. First of all, there is a free algo I have built for you to all give it a try. Go in there, click on the link. That's courtesy of Algo Factory paid sponsor. And more importantly, jump in there, take a look at Ben's information. I've got your Substack and I think your Twitter both in the description, Ben. So please have a look in there. And there are not that many people who I trust to have kind of that broader view of the energy market that I do with Ben. So looks like we also got V the Gorilla here this morning. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
We're good. Well, we do have some fun stuff. Ben gave me a link, and we have to remember that at the heart of all national security issues is Pokemon. It's all Pokemon, folks.
Yes.
It's all about the Pokemon.
I'm all about Charizard.
What's that?
I'm all about Charizard.
Oh boy, I'm going to share this up. We'll have a little fun, and then we'll say good morning and all that stuff. Here we go.
I want to be the very no one ever was. To catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. Each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon, oh, you're my best friend. You know Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all.
You might get a copyright strike. Stop it. You might get a copyright strike from Nintendo.
Oh yeah, we gotta stop the music. That's right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Hopefully, we don't get the copyright strike.
Yeah, no, I was laughing so hard I had to mute myself. But I probably watched that at least a couple times last night, and it's pretty funny to see like the Homeland Security Twitter account posting stuff like that. Like there's some like social media intern that's probably 20s or 30s that is like top tier shit poster. So they're doing a good job over there. Whether they're actually deporting enough people is up for debate, but the social media game has been much better over the last 8 or 9 months. So anyway.
Well, I saw it, and the person who had reposted the video, they said the social media intern at Homeland Security must be protected at all costs. That was his comment.
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny.
Brilliant stuff. So, how you guys doing this morning?
Doing pretty good.
I'm doing good. Ben, how are you? You are my favorite. Yes.
It's been interesting stuff going on with real estate. I just had Peruvian Bull on the podcast yesterday, and he
Peruvian Bull?
Yeah, his name's Roberto Rios. That was his anonymous handle before.
Bull or bull?
Bull.
Bull as in like bullish?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Peruvian Bull.
Yeah, and so one of the lines that he dropped that stood out to me is that the average boomer has made more in their life on real estate than they have in their career.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in kind of the state, kind of big picture, like debasement era that we've kind of been living through, it makes sense when you're basically looking at real estate as, hey, this is just a levered exposure to the continued debasement of the currency. And there's some stuff like we can get into some of the changes in H-1B and all the other stuff, immigration that might or might not flow into the real estate market. But I think some of the stuff, especially in certain markets, like I've heard things about Florida and Texas and some of these places have been overbuilt where things are starting to get a little bit iffy. And
Sure.
I think it'll be interesting to see what the next like 2 to 3 years hold for real estate, because I just look at it as there's going to be a reckoning where you either see price move or rates move, and I think rates are basically on the 10-year. Like you're not going to have much luck pushing that down far enough to get mortgage rates down below 6%, wherever they're at. So you have a bunch of people locked in at 2.5%, 3.5%. Those people can't move. You have housing prices at 10 times income in a lot of places, 10 times median.
And then you got places like New York, Jersey, Cali that are like 30 times income. It's freaking stupid.
Yeah, and it's all kind of held up by this fake. You've kind of talked about before the fire economy, finance, insurance, real estate, where like there's just so much money that gets shoveled into these assets because it's collateral, and it's amazing to watch. But you see kind of what it's done to different parts of society, different parts of culture, where this stuff should not be an asset that BlackRock or Blackstone or any of these big institutions can be buying up single family homes, right? I think there should be a cap on, like, I've got nothing against like the mom and pop landlords.
We need to reinstate Glass-Steagall. That puts an end to all this bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I think specifically if you just target, like if you want to target real estate and make it more affordable, I can't remember, I don't have a link to this one, but I remember seeing yesterday that like Blackstone, like the big asset managers, the private equity and investment types are on track to own, I think it was like 40% of the single family housing stock in the US by like 2030.
Well, that's good, you know. I'm sure it's very fair and equitable because corporate America loves the people, you know. It's great.
You know, I had a video. I don't know if we played it on one of these shows, but there's this girl down, I think it was in Austin or San Antonio, and what she said was a lot of people came out from places like California. They brought their equity, and they were buying these houses, and the houses really started to skyrocket in price. So they just kept buying them, and now you have people with these mortgages of north of $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month, but nobody will rent the houses. No, because the rents used to cover the mortgages, and now they don't because everything's collapsing. I mean, if you think about it, it would be pretty easy to just pull the plug if one of these asset managers decides that they're done with that game,
Yeah. No, I kind of look at the amount of money that's gone to real estate, like with like the FHA loans and some of these other things that like I'm no expert on like the mortgage-backed securities and all the stuff that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have sitting on the balance sheet, but the way I kind of look at it is if you see what I think is probably coming for real estate, things are going to get cheaper for the most part over the next 2 to 3 years. And in some markets, there's going to be constraints, like it'll be more severe where there's been a lot of building. But I just look at it and say, okay, unless we want to inflate to the moon, right? It's not going to be,
the only
like
problem
the average
is,
housing
Ben,
price not going to $1 million. Yeah, what's that?
The only problem is that if real estate prices drop, that is contrary to what Wall Street wants right now. Like BlackRock don't want that to drop because the way, like I'll tell you the background to this. Like it was one of my guys that I know that worked with William F. Black. You're familiar with Dr. William F. Black, the guy who cracked the SNL scandal, the savings and loan scandal in the 80s, where we actually jailed. Okay, that's important for you to take a look at that history. That was one of the biggest. The savings and loan scandal was one of the biggest in banking scandals in American history. That's where we actually jailed bankers, right? That was a huge scandal.
Yeah, it caused Black Friday in 1987.
Exactly, Black Friday, 100%. So my guy who was instrumental with working with William F. Black, he was also instrumental in discovering. He was discovering what was happening with MBS, with mortgage-backed securities, not Mohammed bin Salman. But mortgage-backed securities. And the thing is this. They're taking these mortgage-backed securities, and I talked about this like 13 years ago. And what they're doing is they're chopping it up. They're selling it on the back end, the derivative market, the interest rate swap markets, all that shit, right? So it behooves them the higher and higher it goes, because everybody was like, for many years, like, why is BlackRock just buying these houses and there's nobody living in it? They don't give a fuck if anybody lives in those properties. What they're after is the note.
It's a
That
line on a
note-
spreadsheet to them. Yeah.
Exactly. If that asset, that note, if for them, it's better that note sits at $650,000 rather than $280,000 where it should be. So this is the competing interest. The market forces, and we live in a bullshit market anyway. The market forces are saying, you know what, the interest rates have to drop and the housing prices are going to drop. I think what's going to happen is that interest rates are going to drop, asset prices are going to inflate. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'll found one of the things I want to share as far as like a good visual of how expensive things have gotten.
Oh my God. Dude, bring it up, man. It's fucking
Yeah.
crazy, bro. Look at this shit.
It's basically we're sitting at or near all-time highs on unaffordability for houses, and it's obviously more severe in certain markets. But you kind of look at where this leads, and you see like comments from younger generations on, hey, like, well, if a house is permanently out of reach, then why bother and save up, right?
Yeah.
If the down payment you need is just going to keep inflating and inflating, it's always
And that's the strategy here, Ben. That's
Yeah.
one of the strategies is like keep the asset prices, make housing as unaffordable as possible, so we can move into having renters. And that's what we're seeing happening, where like these large housing developments are being bought out by BlackRock, State Street, and whatnot, and it's being rented out.
Yeah. No, I think we'll see where it goes. Like, you don't want to have as a society that setup where everything just turns into a complete rent seeking economy, which there's been shifts in that direction for a variety of industries. But if it goes too far, then it turns into, I think, eventually chaos, where it's like eventually people have nothing to lose, and there's other agendas about provoking that point. But I kind of look at real estate as, hey, like, this is one of the big issues of not just people that are focused on markets and current events, on like even the people that are like enjoy the sports ball and the bread and circuses and don't pay attention to what's going on, right? They know something's up when they look at real estate prices, when some piece of shit house on a postage stamp of land is like $800,000 in certain cities, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those issues where if Trump and co and all these different federal agencies can actually start to make a dent in making things more affordable, I think that'd be a huge win for them, and something that you can potentially make a very important issue in the next kind of cycle in 2028. But I mean, at the same time, there's a lot of incentives for certain banks and institutions to basically keep the music going, basically, right? As long as the music's going, you have to keep dancing. So that's kind of where a lot of those types see it, right? It's just a line on a spreadsheet where they can extract value and create value for investors or whatever and collect fees, right?
Yep.
So it's frustrating to look at, especially for someone who's like kind of the younger generation. But I think at some point, maybe this is just hopium, but I think we'll get a chance here in the next 2 or 3 years to actually buy stuff at like reasonable prices. I don't know how many different factors have to come in and play, whether it's the H-1B stuff, which maybe we can get into next, but
Yeah,
it's
let's get
H-1Bs
into
plus the immigration plus all this other stuff. But hopefully it ends up in more affordable real estate.
What's your take on the H-1B situation with the $100,000 per year per person?
So it was interesting because they had said it would be 100,000 per year for existing H-1Bs, and then they just said it's actually for 100,000 for new applicants. Apparently would turn into a shitload of lawsuits if you try and like backdate it and have it basically impact everyone that's already in. But if you kind of look at the whole H-1B issue, right, and look at the fraud that's in there and the nepotistic hiring practices of Indians in particular, especially if you look at like what's gone on some of these big tech companies, it's like, look, if computer like science graduates or IT graduates, or take your pick, engineering, if graduates from U.S. colleges can't get jobs in those fields because we want to outsource to cheaper labor at like 50 or 60,000 a year, it's like, yeah, we should absolutely.
What are you
penalize.
talking, man? Have you been to San Francisco?
Yeah, it's
The Silicon Valley? All the
No,
houses there are owned by the H-1Bs, man.
Well,
yeah,
I think
it
part
is
of the
rough.
issue is the fraud that's been going on. So, you know, in countries, and I know India is going to always take the brunt of the criticism, but what they've been caught doing is these universities are faking credentials so that people can come over for
Well, there's a
jobs
lot of
that they're
fake
simply
diploma mills out there. A ton of fake diploma mills.
yeah. So it's just what I think is going on here is that there's been such an abuse of the H-1B system that there just needs to be a way to tamp down on it. And Tom Luongo said it really well. He said it like a day or two ago. Plunger, plunder. Tom said it recently. Like the way that Trump handled Cafe is that he got them to basically defang it so that you couldn't, so that there was no, what do you call it? You know, no penalty. Like they couldn't get Cafe off the books. That's a big deal legislatively, but they could make it useless. And so this is one way to kind of stop a lot of the abuse and fraud that goes on with H-1B. Guys, I'm going to send you a message in the private chat, but you guys go ahead and continue. I'm going to put myself on mute. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so this was another chart where it kind of shows like what like he's talking about with there's like over 50 million immigrants in the US, and you look what it does to wages and other kind of important things where it's like if people talk about like, oh, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and like go in, give them a firm handshake, ask for a job, all this other stuff. That's right. It's
Pull yourself up by your jock straps. Go
Yeah.
and bend over.
get a nice big wedgie from that, basically. But but you basically have like outdated advice when if you actually look at how much you're getting paid for a lot of these entry level jobs, right? If you told a boomer that your minimum wage job from 1970 or 1980, it'd be like getting paid $50 an hour today. Like shit like that, they would tell you you're insane. It's like, well, go look at what you could buy. Look at what the actual purchasing power was, right? That's exactly what it is. And it's kind of like one of those things. This goes back to real estate where like 2/3 of Americans can't afford a home based on what kind of income you'd need. And right, for most of the people that can't afford it, it's right. Those people, 3 out of 4 already own. And you kind of look at what the immigrants and immigration, especially the kind of immigrants we've been having over the last like 5 years, but really my entire life, it's right. People can say, oh, the GDP must go up and we have to worship at the altar of GDP and all that. But if you look at what it does to like debt and deficits and who is a net taxpayer in the system, right? Who takes welfare, all these other like basically social programs, it turns into just a giant parasite on the economy. And that's, I think, one of those things where if we started to fix some of the stuff, you'd see it flow into real estate. At the same time, I think the generational changes means there's going to be some supply of housing hitting the market. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think there's a lot of things that are going to be pushing towards a more affordable real estate, less scammy H-1B programs, and like the hiring practices, all this other stuff that like, I don't know how close you saw it, but when I grew up in the Seattle area and saw it kind of firsthand, like how fast the demographic changes happened in some of the surrounding neighborhoods.
Yeah, like what
And
happened?
it's
Like what you witness in terms of the
so
demographics?
so I grew up in kind of east side of Seattle, kind of Bellevue, Redmond, Sammamish area. Basically, Microsoft headquarters, like a lot of
Yeah.
Microsoft employees. I think my neighborhood when I was little was probably, I don't know, like 90 or 95% white. And now I go back and see like my parents every once in a while, and that's probably like 20%. And it's just H1B. Like it basically looks like East New Delhi. Like it's
Do they have the cows in the street? And,
we're not quite there yet, but
how
I-
about those exquisite street food stalls? Do they have that going on?
they do have some new cuisine popping up, but it's not like street food where you have the vendors with some
Just putting their
interesting
feet in
health
there?
practices yet. Yeah.
I've got one question. Do they have plunger? Plunger.
Yeah. No, it's we're not quite there yet, but it's probably happened faster than a large chunk of the country realizes. And part of it is because, hey, you've got Microsoft, you got Amazon, all these other tech companies have like kind of campuses in Seattle or in that area. And that has been a huge driver of the H1B program is these large tech companies, right? And it's pretty frustrating to see when you have right a neighborhood that I would love to be able to live in. I loved like living in Western Washington, except for kind of the rainy like 6-month period. Other than that, I think it's fantastic. And then you see some stuff where it's like, look, I just can't live there anymore. So we'll see where it goes, but it's
It's
a
the
big
same thing that's
problem.
happened to the nice part of San Francisco. It's a lot of the H-1B. But you got to understand, it's like, here's the funny thing, right? A lot of these H-1B guys, they're coming in at like, 60, 70K a year. But that's after the first year, dude. Now these guys are clearing 400K, 500K a year now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, and then you have, that Japanese guy, the physicist, Michioku, whatever.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Michio Kaku.
Yeah, Michio Kaku, right? Michio Kaku. And he made a point where it's just like, dude, we're there. Apart from the fraud, there is a fraud. There's fraud in everything in this country. Every aspect of whatever the fuck we do here, there's always an aspect of fraud to it. But the legitimate H1Bs, there's a lot of talent coming here. I mean, look, you guys have an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
It's just it comes down to screening the talent from the drops.
Yeah,
and over the
right.
years.
But here's the thing: the
know.
talent, when you screen the talent and you have quality people coming in, the quality people outdoes the fraud. It's greater. There's more quality coming in than the fraud, right? Case in point, your iPhone 8 series chips, right? All of it. The 8 series architecture was done by an Indian guy. The Intel, the x86 chips and the RISC processors that every single microchip is running on, it's an Indian dude, right? I mean, there's so many of these advancements that are running, and you got a lot of fucking talent that does come on board. And one of the things that Michioku made a point is like a lot of these talent you really can't readily source to the great numbers that we have here currently. That's because we've been kind of lagging on the STEM and the math and sciences and whatnot, and we've been emphasizing putting condoms on cucumbers and taking it in the ass. And the point is also with this occurring is you have a lot of people going back, and now you're having like a Silicon Valley popping up in other places, like in India, like in China and whatnot. And so it's interesting how this is going to play out. Like, I'm all for developing local talent. I'm all for that. And I think it really has to stem from the fact that you can't have piss poor American high school students then going to college and then try to make up for lost time in college in this type of a market. That's my take. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the part of the problem is that a lot of the hiring practices and universities have gotten away from like focusing purely on, hey, this guy's smart, this guy's talented, and it's turned into like a check the box exercise where we need to have X% of these type of people And if you say you're a gay black dude or like tranny or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, we need more of those. Like, let's get those people in and hire them. So like, I think if companies actually went back to hiring based on competence, this thing would solve itself relatively quickly. Problem is, you look at HR departments, and I think they're gonna be mostly replaced by AI, which is good because I mean, we can go back and forth with how like important AI is going to be for actual artificial intelligence, or if it's just the um, basically brute force processing kind of data mining type deal. But right, you look at what AI does, it's like, yeah, do you need a bunch of HR Karens to gatekeep who gets hired and who gets shut out of employment? So I think that's the biggest thing, is if you can like get most of the economy to shift back to hiring based on merit, all this stuff starts to sort itself out. And I think that's where, I don't know how long that takes. And a lot of the different diversity hire types are dug in like ticks kind of across different sectors of the country. But I kind of look at it and say, hey, I think there's going to be a chance to actually turn this Titanic around, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm pretty optimistic about some of the things I've been seeing, but it also realizes it's not an overnight fix, you know?
Yeah.
The, I know this will be sort of an abrupt transition here, but I don't know if you've seen some of the news on the whole, the shot stuff. I know that saying a certain word will get you whacked on YouTube,
What,
but
the jab, or you talking
yeah, the
about
jabs and what Kennedy's been saying about children that have autism and what the mothers believe, all that stuff.
refresh us. Like I
Yeah,
heard a
I'll,
lot of the stuff in the background, but what's the latest?
yeah, so I'll screen share here if you can pop that up. The thing that's interesting with all the stuff that's going on, where you have, right, this has been an issue, and I don't know if you can put that up on. Actually, let me hit present here. See if this works. Oh, no, I think you have to put it up on your own. But anyway, the thing that's interesting is there's been like rumblings of, hey, the shots and the whole schedule is what leads to autism. And you look at a chart of rates of autism, and how, like, I think it went from one in, was it like 50,000 or 100,000, like 50 or 60 years ago. And now it's like 1 in 36 boys are diagnosed with autism. And right, people can say, oh, it's not a it's hard to like prove anything. And it's like, well, look at the number of shots that kids have to get on the current schedule compared to where it was like 50, 60 years ago, right? And they're making this whole thing about Tylenol and all this other stuff. I don't know what to make of that. They're basically saying that, like, Tylenol is has something to do with weakening the immune system. And
Interesting.
I like, again, I'm not a doctor, not a scientist, but I do know for certain that when I start having kids, it's like they're not getting any of the shots, like, at all.
Yeah,
I tend to agree with that. Linking to Tylenol is a load of crap, but with
Tylenol.
MK there in the comments, but it is interesting to see, because it is like a big time narrative shift where if you get a big chunk of the country that says, hey, like, we don't want this anymore, and especially if you remove the liability shield that, I think it was with the Vaccine Act or the Shot Act, sorry, of 1986, where they basically have immunity from, and you have to go through this whole special lawsuit process, and basically never pays out. It's one of those things where if you get rid of the liability shields, I think we could see a dramatic shift in, like, hey, we go from 60 shots down to 3, bunch of people opt out and say, no, we're not getting any of them. But I think the whole idea that like, oh, these mothers are just nuts, that the shots are what caused the autism. And it's like, look, if it's something where enough of these people have like their kids get a shot and then 24 hours later they're basically gone, right? I think
Fucking
there's
crazy.
enough anecdotal evidence and enough smoke there to basically have a fire, right? It's not just these people are insane, and it's completely natural that was it 1 in 36, I think is the data that I saw. 1 in 36 boys are have autism now, and that's just not normal, right? That was never a thing 100 years ago. People like, oh, humans would never survive without vaccines. It's like, if you look back at the past, it's like this whole, I mean, this whole Rockefeller medicine system really is, I think it's probably going to be changing dramatically in my lifetime. It'll probably take a decade or two really for it to accelerate. But I think vaccines, I think a lot of the petroleum based medicines, I think a lot of the current current system is going to change dramatically, right? And right, if you have a broken arm or a broken leg, like massive surgical procedure, yeah, I get it, right? I understand why the U.S. is good at that, but for other stuff like health and preventive medicine, like I would rather be focused on diet and exercise and supplements than like, oh, I need some, like, even if you just get into Ozempic, right? If you look at something like the weight loss pills, because people are too lazy to like take some time to figure out what they want to eat and eat basically a clean diet. I think we're going to find out Ozempic has huge side effects in the next 5 or 10 years, right? Whether it's muscle wasting, like heart issues. I mean, you can just see it right on the face of people that get on Ozempic and probably take too high of a dose, right? Like basically they just look gaunt, and like their face is, it just looks unnatural. It looks unhealthy, you know?
Right.
So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I think we could be seeing like the first sign of a major shift in the medical system that I think would be a good thing. But at the same time, it's probably going to take longer than many of us hope.
Yeah, I agree with you. What's your take, Cowboy?
I think he had to head out. I think he got roped into semi-emergency, but yeah, Ozempic face is a thing.
No, Ozempic face is definitely a thing. I think people need to understand there's really no shortcuts, man. I see it where, you know, you got a lot of people undergoing all sorts of procedures, doing permanent harm to their bodies for short-term results. It's just not worth it. The juice is not worth the squeeze. And I think there's going to be a pushback. And I hope there is, man. But people always want easy. People always want somebody else to take care of it. And that's the biggest issue that we have. You know?
Well, I think too, someone was saying HPV, isn't there a lawsuit over that one? I think I could be totally off on this, but I think it was the Gardasil is the name of that one, that vaccine.
It is, right.
And there's like serious health issues that come from that. And like, if you're giving it to, I think it was girls and ovarian cancer, if I remember right. And like, don't quote me on it, like look it up for yourselves. But if I remember right, there's like some significant health problems coming from that vaccine that impacts fertility and other things. And there's a lot of issues with different shots. I keep slipping and saying the other word that might get you nuked on YouTube, but there's a lot of issues with these different shots that have been shown to lead to things that are like not worth the risk. And I think we're going to figure out, hey, like there's a better way to stay healthy and boost your immune system. And that can be supplements, that can be getting out and getting sunlight, that can be eating healthy food, right? I think we're going to see a lot of these things start to change. And I think you're already kind of seeing certain shifts in like the what people want. And you're seeing it with alcohol consumption from younger generations. I think part of it is driven by kind of the whole nature of like going out and all the stuff, like the party
Yeah,
scene
I
is
mean,
not
there's no
what
such
it
thing
used
as
to be.
there's no such thing as a little drink. Alcohol is one of the most destructive things you can put into your body. It's a hepatotoxin to the
Yeah.
fullest. And every guy that I talk to has ditched alcohol. Their fucking testosterone levels get up. They're feeling better. It's rejuvenating. It fucking ages the shit out of you. Like you
Yeah.
look at people who are alkies, man. Like especially women. Holy shit!
Yeah.
It's like it fucking ages you. You know?
No, the wall comes at like
Oh.
25, 26 if you
Exactly, dude.
are on that. But I've noticed like I probably, I don't know, had 6 or 7 days, maybe all year, where I've had a drink. And even if it's just one drink, the next day I still feel like cloudy and
Oh, yeah.
it's like you sleep like shit.
Yep.
And it's just amazing where you kind of look at it and say, hey, like, yeah, maybe I want to have a glass of whiskey every once in a while, but is it like a habitual thing? Like, absolutely not. Right. And I think that's where I think we're going to see a lot of changes on the health side, where it's the vaccine stuff. It's what goes into certain medications and what people focus on with their diet. I think we're going to see restaurants honestly pop up where it's, hey, we're not going to use any seed oils, right? It is still like one of those things where you have to check everything at the grocery store for seed oils, and you still find it absolutely everywhere, right? Can be in seasonings, can be in all these different types of foods. And I think there's going to be a huge continued focus on the health topic, which liquor, ladies, and leverage can quickly make you broke. Yes, that is definitely true. Gulag.
Liquor,
but-
ladies, and
yeah.
leverage. I love that. That's fucking awesome. That's great, man.
Yeah. But I think you look at like some of these things, I think we are going to see some major changes in what people focus on for health. And I think it's going to be a good shift, because America on average is very unhealthy, right? And I don't know if you've kind of seen some of the changes around your friend group and what they're focused on, but
No.
From guys my age and talking to them, like they're definitely more focused on like eating right, exercising, like staying active, doing all the things where it's like, hey, we need to basically keep this in order and avoid some of the traps that are out there as far as like the food supply. Because I mean, it's basically poison for a lot of the stuff that people think is food, right? Soda, chips, seed oils, like all the stuff you see. I mean, alcohol too, right? Is literally a poison. So
And all the ultra processed foods and garbage that a lot of people have been consuming.
yeah, no, it'll be good to see a change on it. I don't know how long it'll take. I think it's another issue where a lot of people are figuring it out fairly quickly. So the last thing I wanted to get into, and this is one of your favorite topics, is some of the circular AI economy. I'm sure you saw this. NVIDIA investing up to 100 billion in open AI. But
oh my god, yeah,
it's
and there's not.
It's just like
Oracle did the same shit.
It's just
and there's nothing there.
The circular economy of, hey, you're going to buy this from me, and we're going to invest in you, and the merry-go-round keeps going on and on and on. And I look at this and I'm like, I understand why like short-term headlines drive certain stocks and why people get excited about, hey, this is the next big thing, right? But anytime you're looking at investing in something and you see a CapEx boom like is happening right now, especially one that is as questionable as this one, you should be running the other way, I think, as an investor. Right. And for me, like I look at, okay, they're going to spend billions of dollars to invest in this company. They're going to turn around, buy NVIDIA chips. Those are going to be worthless or basically obsolete in 2 to 3 years, whatever, maybe even sooner. And then we're just going to keep doing this indefinitely. We're just going to spend like trillions of dollars from now until the end of time, because that's what you need to make this work. is you need trillions of dollars of spending into AI to make all this stuff pencil out for investors, right? For Nvidia to go from what 4.5 trillion to 10, right? You need continued spend. Like, it's just insane. It's just nuts. And I think part of it is there's I think we're kind of at the point where there's certain people that are almost intentionally blowing a bubble in certain assets. And it's more extreme in like tech stocks and these AI names, right? And you have other kind of secondary companies that benefit. But I look at it and it's like, are we really gonna try and like inflate a bubble to run the economy hot, to outgrow the debt? To, I mean, it's just nuts. But it's kind of the sign that we are going with the kick the can down the road approach on all this stuff. So
well, when you have a financialized economy, right, it's a parasitic economy. So the financial parasite sits on top. And the only thing everybody else can do, especially the politicians and the middle managers and whatnot, is keep kicking the can, because any sort of resuscitation of a physical economy will kill the parasite. Can't have it. It's two competing interests. You can either be financialized until we die a horrible death in terms of economically speaking, or we become industrial and prosperous. You cannot be industrial and prosperous and then have a fire economy at the same time. Doesn't work. So this is the parasite feeding the fuck out of us, and there's nothing else to do but to keep kicking the can, because the bubble has to keep being inflated. Why? Because the purpose of a fire economy, the purpose of speculation, this purpose of the type of economy that we have right now is wealth extraction. That's it. That's the only mission. And everything that we do in terms of quote unquote industry is a cottage industry to finance all the time, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, I think the thing that would be fascinating to see is if we can somehow like reverse the trend of financialization, where like you start to get small business owners and other people that are aware of what's happened, and basically making an intentional point of, hey, like, we're gonna build businesses that provide real services, like provide real products, and we're not going to go public. We're not going to get caught up in like this whole kind of Wall Street rodeo of how do we extract as much as possible, and like the actual returns come from, hey, we're growing the business and growing the cash flows and doing the like all the right things, right? I think that's where I hope to see some major changes with a lot of different things, because they're like the U.S. has a lot of incredible assets, whether it's natural resources or like the people, different businesses. The problem is that everyone is kind of getting drawn in, like you said, the financialization. It's almost everywhere, and almost turns into like as like a pull, like gravity almost, where it's really hard to escape. But if you can kind of look at it from a 30,000-foot view, right? If you could build a company that says, hey, we're going to provide XYZ service at a reasonable price. And I think the biggest thing that I hope we can figure out is, hey, like, companies and people and economies don't exist, so insurance companies can write and then like basically do everything to avoid that, like paying out. Or real estate, we're gonna print and debase so real estate prices go up to the moon so that we can use it as collateral for whatever like mortgage-backed securities we want to chop up and sell and all this other shit, right? Finance is actually based on, hey, like, we need a financial sector, but it's based on how do we actually allocate capital to good ideas, not, okay, S&P is going up and passive flows make it go up more. And so every 2 weeks, the retirement accounts just keep pumping money in. And so number goes up because it's like a feedback loop, right? And I kind of look at all these things as like fairly connected, but it's going to take a giant reshuffling to make all this stuff pencil out. And that's where I think it'll happen in my lifetime. I don't know if it happens in the next 5 years, 10 years,
Oh no,
anytime soon, but I think it will
that'll be definitely in your
eventually
lifetime,
happen.
man. Yeah, it will definitely be in your lifetime,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
So fingers crossed. I
Yeah.
think it'll come maybe sooner than people think. I think it'll be like so many other things that I've kind of mentioned. A lot of these changes are going to happen when the boomers are gone and people are like, there's a new sheriff in town, basically, right? So at least for now, the stock market, the housing market, all this stuff is basically UBI for boomers because S&P must go up every year, and it's basically a socialized saving program. So anyway, that's kind of the stuff that I want to hit on today. I think the whole AI thing is it's going to end very poorly. I think
It's a
matter
big,
of time.
giant freaking scam. 99% of it is just a scam.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think it's marketing bullshit. It's more. I mean, think about it. It's like we're so behind the curve when it comes to technology, when it comes to real hard sciences and advancements, and the type of supply chains and industry and infrastructure that we need to power this next generation of technology. We don't even have it. So all this talk about investing in 100 billion here, it's just a giant circle jerk, pumping stocks. All it's doing is liquidity off ramps. That's all it's for. It's everything speculative. And this is going to end badly. And I hope people wake up, brother, without a doubt, and invest into real things like energy and real shit, real companies that do real things.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities out there. It's just not going to be that's the thing is all these different changes in the markets have created a ton of opportunities in weird and unique situations, stuff that is off the radar of 99% of investors. It's stuff that maybe it's in private markets, maybe it's outside of the kind of beaten path, but I think there's a ton of opportunities for people willing to look, even in public markets, and where you're buying stuff for pennies on the dollar. And it's like, hey, this is going to work out pretty well if you're patient enough. And I think that's where a lot of the short-term mindset of what is this thing going to do in 3 months or 6 months? Like if the number goes down like 10%, 5%, I have a stop loss and I need to get out. And it's like, look, if you bought a private business and your view is that it's going to I need to get out if the value goes down. It's like, no, no one has like an actual long-term view on a lot of these things, right?
Yeah.
It's all short-term, 3 to 6 months, maybe a year, but trying to recycle and get into the next idea, the next thing that's going to go up. And it's just, I think there's going to be a big place for investors that take a different approach to it. So that's kind of where I am. So we'll see where all this stuff goes, but I'm pretty excited about some things for the next 5 years. Other things, it's hard to see a good outcome, but I think there's a lot of things that are going to change here in the near future. So
absolutely. Very well said. Ben Kelleran, the Contrarian Corner. You can follow him, folks. The links are all in the description box. Support Ben's work. He is evangelizing the next generation. He is the hope of tomorrow, while he's the prophet of what's happening with the energy market, because energy ultimately is the real currency. Ben, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Enjoy, everyone. Cheers.